What if love had always been speaking to you through whiskers, through silence? Through the soft rhythm of a purr you've heard 1,000 times, but never truly listened to. Every cat, whether wild-eyed kitten or quiet elder, carries within them a language older than words. It is a language of gestures, stillness, breath, and touch. A sacred conversation that exists somewhere between instinct and eternity. To understand it is not to master your cat, it is to remember something holy about love itself. When your fingertips trace the line of fur just between a cat's eyes and ears, you are not merely offering comfort. You are touching the same temporal gland a mother cat uses to calm her young. Science tells us that this moment releases oxytocin, the love hormone. But perhaps that chemical cascade is only the physical echo of something more mysterious, something like grace. The cat's eyelids lower, their body softens. In that instant, two nervous systems begin to share one rhythm. This is what divine safety feels like, a communion so quiet it could be mistaken for stillness. I once met a woman named Claire who had lost her husband after 30 years of marriage. In the heavy months that followed, she found herself unable to pray, unable even to speak about her grief. Then, one winter morning, a stray cat appeared at her door, a frail gray creature with a torn ear and eyes that seemed to see straight through the noise of her sorrow. She offered it shelter, unsure why. Each evening, as she sat by the window, the cat would leap into her lap, pressing its forehead to hers, holding still until her shaking quieted. Over time, Claire began to call this ritual our evening prayer. She said it felt as if God had found a new way to reach her through fur, through warmth. Through a creature too silent to preach, but too loving to leave her alone in the dark. The scientists at Cornell might describe that as emotional bonding, a measurable reduction of cortisol, a neurological synchronization between species. And they would be right. But there is also another truth. One, the instruments can't record that in moments like this, the distance between heaven and earth narrows until it nearly disappears. The cat's spiritual meaning of this exchange lies not in dominance or training, but in recognition. Cats do not perform affection for approval. They reveal it only when they trust that the energy between you is safe enough to open. Each time you respond with patience, with gentle touch, instead of insistence, you become part of their sacred circle. In that small act of respect, you are writing your name into their soul's quiet memory. It is said that when a cat blinks slowly at you, they are whispering, "I trust you." But perhaps, if we listen differently, it's also an invitation. Will you meet me in this peace? A slow blink is not a command. It's a doorway. And when you return it, when you allow your own eyes to soften and close, you are speaking the same silent prayer back. In that moment, love travels both ways, unspoken, yet complete. You may notice too how cats respond to your voice. Not just the words, but the tone, the cadence, the emotional undercurrent beneath language. Researchers in Japan discovered that cats recognize their guardian's voice amid dozens of strangers. But beyond recognition, there is resonance. When you speak to your cat about your day in a calm, even tone, their ears turn towards you, their body settles. They are not analyzing meaning, they are receiving energy. It is the vibration of trust, a kind of music that tells them the world is still whole. Imagine speaking to them as you would to an old friend who understands without needing explanation. Describe the sunrise, the rain, the book you're reading. Let your voice become a bridge between worlds, the human and the feline, the seen and the unseen. Because in truth, your cat doesn't need you to be perfect. They need you to be present, to share the sacred ordinariness of the moment. There's a quiet theology hidden in every shared breath between human and animal, that love, when stripped of words, still finds a way to be known. Each stroke along their fur, each calm word, each steady heartbeat becomes a small sacrament, a daily reminder that the divine does not always arrive in miracles or visions, but in warmth, routine, and care. And when your cat curls beside you, resting their head against your hand, they are not just seeking comfort, they are answering the unspoken question we all carry. Am I still connected? Yes, says the cat's gentle weight. Yes, you are. In this moment, you belong to them, to life, to love itself. So tonight, when you reach out to touch your cat, do it slowly. Feel the warmth beneath your palm, the steady breath, the ancient pulse that beats in sync with your own. This is more than petting. It is participation in a mystery, the kind that turns loneliness into communion. And as you both sit there in that soft, wordless prayer, you might notice something shift inside you. The same calm your cat feels begins to flow back through your hands into your chest, your breath, your mind. The oxytocin of grace, God's quiet chemistry working its invisible wonder. In the silent language of love, there are no commands, only invitations. Your cat is teaching you how to listen with your spirit, not just your ears, how to speak with stillness, not just sound. And when dawn arrives again, and they come to you with that familiar morning gaze, their small ritual of life renewed, you will know that the conversation never truly ends. Love continues its dialogue quietly, faithfully, from one heartbeat to another. Next, we'll step into those moments that test and deepen this trust. The sacred art of boundaries, and how every pause, every quiet no can become its own act of love. Trust is not given in a single moment. It grows in the pauses between moments, soft, fragile, unseen, like light filtering through the thin veil of dawn. With cats, love lives not in grand gestures, but in small permissions. The space they grant you, the distance they maintain, the quiet presence they accept beside them. To love a cat is to learn the language of sacred boundaries, where every gesture of restraint becomes an act of reverence. A cat teaches that love is not possession. It is presence. Their grace lies in the delicate balance between closeness and solitude, between curiosity and caution. And when you respect that rhythm, something changes in the air around you, an invisible warmth, a quiet opening of trust that feels almost holy. Take, for instance, a man named David. When his cat Willow was rescued from neglect, she hid beneath the bed for weeks, her eyes flickering like distant stars. He wanted so badly to comfort her that he would reach under the bed trying to coax her out. Each time she retreated further into the shadows. But then one night he simply sat on the floor, saying nothing, doing nothing, just breathing near her space. After an hour, he heard a small rustle, the sound of tiny paws moving closer. She didn't emerge completely, but her tail brushed his hand before she disappeared again. That was the first thread of trust, as fine and sacred as silk. It wasn't loud or visible. It was simply real. Behaviorists might describe this as desensitization or gradual exposure, but in truth, it is something more ancient, the soul's way of learning safety again. Every creature, human or feline, must rediscover that they can be seen and still be safe. Cats just remind us to do it with patience. Their boundaries are not rejection, they are invitations to love without demand. This quiet dance between giving and waiting reveals the essence of feline grace. To stop when a cat's tail flicks or ears flatten is not obedience. It is awareness. It is saying, I see you. I will not cross the sacred edge of your comfort. And in that small surrender, your cat begins to trust that your love is gentle enough to be safe. There is divine symmetry in that lesson, for how many times has the universe asked us, too, to stop pushing to listen for silence before speaking, to let love breathe instead of forcing it to bloom. Trust also blooms in the ritual of parting. Cats feel the energy of your departures long before the door closes. They watch the shoes, the keys, the quiet gathering of intention. And in that moment, their world trembles. To them, each absence is a small death. Yet they learn the pattern of your return through repetition, through ritual. There's a story of an ICU nurse named Melissa who lived alone with her tabby Juno. Each night she left for her 12-hour shift, Juno would pace anxiously, meowing at the door. One evening, Melissa placed a folded shirt on the bed, something she had worn that day, and whispered, "I'll be back, my love." When she returned at dawn, she found Juno asleep on the shirt, calm for the first time. The ritual became their prayer, a scent left behind, a promise carried home. Scientists call it olfactory memory, your scent triggering oxytocin, lowering your cat's stress levels. But beneath the biology is a spiritual metaphor. Your scent becomes the unseen covenant of love. It is the communion of scent and soul, a thread of invisible comfort that says, though I am gone, I remain. We too can carry this lesson into our human lives. Love does not disappear when someone leaves. It simply changes its form. What your cat teaches without words is how to trust that invisible bond, the faith that presence can exist beyond sight. And then there are the offerings. The toy dropped at your feet, the feather carried proudly from the garden, the leaf placed carefully on your pillow as you sleep. To many, these are quirks or inconveniences. But within feline language, these are sacred exchanges. Cats by instinct share what they value most with those they claim as kin. In the wild, this act keeps the colony alive. In your living room, it is love, in its purest symbolic form, a spiritual offering, humble and wordless. I recall an elderly man named Samuel, whose late wife had adored their cat Bella. After she passed, Bella began bringing Samuel small objects each morning, a dried rose petal, a twist to tie, once even a silver button from a long-forgotten jacket. Each gift rested quietly at his chair like a morning benediction. Samuel said, "It's as if she's teaching me how to receive love again, simply without words." In this, the cat reveals another truth. Love's purpose is not always to comfort. Sometimes it arrives to awaken. These small gifts remind us that every living being is capable of reverence, that gratitude itself is a universal language. And when illness or sorrow enters the home, cats often become stiller, quieter, yet more present. They settle beside you without needing to fix, to speak, or to heal. But healing happens anyway. Their calmness steadies the storm within you. Their breathing sets a pace your spirit can follow. Energy healers call it resonance. Theologians might call it grace. Both are right. One hospice nurse once told me of a patient whose cat refused to leave her bedside for 3 days before she passed. The cat's small body rose and fell in time with her final breaths. When the woman exhaled for the last time, the cat lifted its head, gave a slow blink, and rested again. There was no drama, no fear, only completion. It was as if the cat had kept vigil, carrying her across the threshold with the same devotion she once offered in life. So much of feline trust exists in this quiet space where doing less becomes loving more. They remind us that presence is not measured in words or movement, but in the energy of peace we share. As we learn from them, our own hearts soften. We begin to trust not only our cats, but life itself, the rhythms of coming and going, of holding and releasing, of speaking and silence. These are the acts of trust that shape every sacred bond. And when the time comes for love to take on its final, most mysterious form, the cat remains our teacher, still showing us that even death does not break the thread. It only changes the way light passes through it. Next, we will follow that light beyond the veil to the quiet mysteries of presence that endure after goodbye, and the gentle ways love returns, wearing a new name and new fur. When the house grows quiet after loss, it is not truly empty. There is a softness in the air, a trace of warmth on the bed where your cat once slept, the faint echo of a purr that seems to hum from nowhere. It is in these in-between spaces that love begins to reveal its truest nature. It does not die. It transforms. What was once visible becomes vibration, memory, energy. The ancient mystics called this continuum. Science calls it frequency, but perhaps both are describing the same truth, the soul's enduring resonance. For those who have loved and lost a cat, grief arrives as a silent companion. It sits beside you as you fold the last blanket, as you hesitate to put away the small bowl, still scented with their breath. Yet grief, when held gently, begins to shimmer into something else. You start to notice small signs, the kind that seem too tender to be coincidence. A cat-shaped shadow by the window, a soft indentation on the cushion that no longer carries weight, a new kitten who curls in the exact same spot, breathing with the same rhythm. A woman named Marianne once wrote about the days after losing her orange tabby Leo. Each night for a week, she dreamt of him walking through a meadow, stopping to turn back and blink slowly twice before fading into the light. On the 8th morning, she awoke to find a stray kitten waiting by her porch. It was not the same color, not even the same temperament. But when it looked up at her, its gaze carried the same calm, the same knowing. It was like being seen by the same soul wearing a new coat, she said. That was the moment I began to heal. The mystic Edgar Cayce once described animals as souls on a shared pilgrimage with humanity evolving alongside us to teach the language of unconditional love. He believed that the spirit of a beloved pet may linger near those they've bonded with, not trapped, but serving as gentle guides, reminders that life is continuous and connection eternal. In this light, the Rainbow Bridge is not a faraway place, but an energy field, a bridge of remembrance woven from mutual love. Your cat's spirit does not depart. It expands, slipping from form into presence, from fur into light. And yet, even for those who do not speak in the language of mysticism, there is an earthly truth that mirrors this mystery. Scent that most ancient of senses holds what memory alone cannot. Your scent is the signal of home to your cat, a scent they associate with safety, belonging, and love. And their scent, though faint, lingers long after they are gone. You open a drawer, a sweater, and there it is, the quiet reminder that love leaves a trace. Scientists tell us that olfactory memory is one of the most enduring forms of recall. But perhaps what lingers is more than molecules. Perhaps it is the very frequency of affection, the communion of scent and soul. There's a story told by a hospice volunteer about a man named Arthur who had lived alone for years with his cat Daisy. After Daisy passed, he kept her blanket folded at the foot of his bed. He said he couldn't wash it, yet something in him knew that the faint scent carried a kind of peace he wasn't ready to lose. Months later, when he finally did wash it, he dreamed that night of her lying beside him again, her small chest rising and falling in rhythm with his breath. It wasn't sadness anymore, he said softly. It was gratitude. I realized love hadn't gone, it had simply become quieter. In the final moments between life and death, cats often look deeply into the eyes of those they love. Veterinarians speak of it clinically, recognizing the calm induced by a gentle voice, the reduction of fear hormones. But for anyone who has lived through that gaze, there is no science large enough to contain it. Their eyes become mirrors of eternity. They do not look at us, but through us, as if reminding us that the soul does not end at the skin. When they close their eyes for the last time, it is not an ending. It is an act of trust, perhaps their final gift. One woman described holding her aging cat Whisker as he took his final breath. She whispered, "It's okay. You can rest now." And for a brief instant, she felt a wave of warmth pass through her hands. The room seemed brighter, softer, almost translucent. It was as if the air itself exhaled, she said. And I knew he was still here, just in another shape. These experiences are not fantasies. They are the way love keeps its promise. When we lose a cat, we are invited into a deeper apprenticeship, the art of perceiving love in unseen forms. Their presence begins to weave itself into the rhythm of our days, the flicker of candlelight, the rustle of a curtain, the quiet wait at the edge of the bed. Each sign says the same thing: I am near. I am peace. I am love unending. And so, when a new cat finds its way to you, a rescue, a wanderer, a small life that suddenly chooses your doorstep, it is never random. It is love wearing a new name. Sometimes it is the same soul returning not to replace, but to continue the work of healing. Other times, it is the universe answering the absence you thought would never mend. Either way, the message is the same: love is faithful. It circles back when the heart is ready. If you listen quietly, you may feel it too, the continuity, the hum of connection that never breaks. Your cat's love is not confined to a lifetime. It flows through you, teaching you what divine constancy feels like. It teaches that the space between worlds is thinner than we believe, that the veil separating seen and unseen is not a wall, but a breath. So tonight, light a small candle for the cats who have crossed beyond your sight. Whisper their names as if speaking to the wind. Somewhere their spirits turn toward you, eyes half closed in eternal trust. For love once shared never leaves it, only changes its shape. And in that quiet transformation lies the secret we explore next. How these sacred bonds between species do more than comfort us, they awaken us. They remind us of the divine mirror within every living being, calling us to live love and listen with a gentler soul.